My name's Sarah. I'm 26. And I'm a specialist in the Army. Or still am, technically, but it's complicated now. This all started with my last eval, the one that was supposed to get me promoted. It was probably a year ago now, give or take. I was due for my annual physical training evaluation. The PT test? Anyone in the military knows what that means. 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. Simple enough for most, right? Not for me. I've never been a runner. My knees they ache. Always have. It's not like I'm lazy. It's a legitimate issue. And the push-ups? Forget about it. My shoulders just don't have that kind of strength. It's not fair. Really, expecting everyone to fit into the same mold. We're not all built the same. Anyway, this eval was important. My promotion packet was almost ready, and a good PT score would seal the deal. A bad one. Well, that would mean remedial PT. Extra formations, more runs, more push-ups. Just thinking about it made me tired. I already work long hours, dealing with paperwork, supply requisitions, all the boring stuff no one else wants to do. I'm good at my job. Actually, really good. I keep things organized. I meet deadlines. I'm reliable when it comes to the actual work. So why should my career hinge on how fast I can run 2 miles? It's antiquated. Honestly, I was talking to Jessie, one of the other specialists in my unit. She's one of those naturally athletic types, always bouncing around, full of energy. Annoying. Honestly, she was complaining about some minor ache after a long run, and I just listened, nodding along. And then she said something about how easy it was to get a temporary profile if you just knew the right things to say. Nothing major, just enough to get you out of a few PT sessions. A light bulb went off. I mean, it's not like I was trying to fake a serious injury. I wasn't trying to get out of everything. Just the PT test. So I figured, why not? It's not hurting anyone. I'd still be doing my job, still pulling my weight. More, probably, than some of the guys who spent half their day in the gym anyway. So I went to the clinic. I told the medic my knee was acting up. A dull, constant ache. Worse after running. I made sure to limp a little when I walked in, just to sell it. I'm not a bad actress, I guess. The medic, a young guy, just nodded, took notes. He gave me a temporary profile. 6 weeks, no running, limited lower body activity. Perfect. I felt a little buzz of relief. No PT test, no remedial PT, no more dread. It was smart, really, a small white lie to avoid a huge headache. And it wasn't like I was the first person to do it. Everyone tries to get out of things when they can. It's just how the system works. If you're not looking out for yourself, who will? The problem started, or rather, the consequences started when our unit got tasked with a new deployment. It was a short one, just a few months, to a pretty austere location. We'd be operating out of a small forward operating base, and that meant everyone was pulling double duty. We had limited personnel, so everyone had to carry their own gear, plus a share of the common equipment. We're talking radios, extra ammo, medical kits, even water purifiers, heavy stuff. My profile was still active. I figured, no big deal. It was just for running and strenuous lower body stuff. Carrying a backpack was fine, right. But then the official packing list came out. Everyone had to carry their full rucksack, plus another 30-40 pounds of shared gear. My profile specifically said limited load bearing. I didn't think anything of it. Really, I figured they'd just adjust. They had to, right? I had a medical profile, but our platoon sergeant, Sjat Miller, he's one of those old school types. By the book, no exceptions. He saw my profile and just shook his head. Specialist Torres, he said, looking at me with that gaze that always made me feel like a lazy recruit. Your profile states limited load bearing. This deployment requires full load bearing from everyone. We can't have anyone compromising the mission. I tried to explain, but Sergeant, it's just my knee. I can still carry some things. I can do my job. He just grunted. Your profile says what it says. Specialist, we can't risk you collapsing in the field. Someone else will have to pick up your slack. That's when I saw Miller looking over at PFC. Sanchez. Sanchez was built like a brick wall. He was young, strong, always the first one to volunteer for the heaviest tasks. He was the kind of guy who'd carry 3 rucksacks if you asked him to, just to prove he could. Everyone called him Superman behind his back, but not in a mean way, more like a grudging admiration. He always had a smile on his face, always willing to help. A real too nice guy, if there ever was one. Too good for his own good. Honestly, Miller walked over to Sanchez, and I heard bits and pieces of their conversation. Sanchez, you're picking up Specialist Torres' share of the comms gear. and a bit of her medical supplies. You got it. Sanchez, of course, just nodded. Roger, Sergeant, no problem. Always so eager to please. It annoyed me, honestly, like he was trying to make everyone else look bad by being so good. I tried to interject. Sergeant, I can carry some of it. Really? But Miller just waved me off. Dismissed. Specialist. Get your pack ready for inspection. I walked away, feeling a prickle of annoyance. It wasn't my fault. It was the system. And Sanchez, for being such a damn golden retriever, why couldn't he have just said no? It's not like he was obligated to be everyone's pack mule. But then again, he always was. That was his problem, not mine. He needed to learn to say no. This was a lesson for him. Really, he'd thank me for it later. Probably. The deployment started, and it was exactly what I expected. Hot, dusty, and miserable, but at least I wasn't carrying all that extra weight. I mean, sure, my own pack was still heavy, but it wasn't nearly as bad as what Sanchez was lugging around. I saw him sometimes, shoulders hunched under the massive load, sweat dripping down his face. He'd still manage a small nod or a strained smile when our eyes met. It made me feel a little not guilty, just observant. Like, wow, he really is carrying a lot. One evening, we were setting up a temporary patrol base. It was late. The sun was going down, and everyone was exhausted. We had been moving all day, and Sanchez had been carrying his usual ridiculous load, plus mine. I saw him stumble once, then catch himself. I pretended not to notice. It wasn't my place to comment. Right. He chose to carry it. No one forced him. Then, as he was heaving a particularly heavy radio off his back, he let out a sharp cry, not a yell, more like a grunt of pain that was quickly stifled. He dropped the shy radio with a thud, and then he just crumpled, not all the way to the ground, but he sank onto one knee, clutching his lower back. Immediately, everyone was around him. Subbard, Miller was barking orders. Medic. Get over here. Sanchez? What happened? I stood a little ways off, watching. I felt a weird mix of alarm and something else. Like, oh, this is happening. The medic was examining him, asking questions. Sanchez was pale, gritting his teeth. Just a sharp pain. Sergeant, my back that just gave out. The medic looked concerned. Looks like a pretty bad strain. Sergeant, he needs to be evacuated. He can't carry anything else. Miller swore under his breath. God damn it. All right, get him to the aid station and get him ready for transport. He looked around, and his eyes landed on me. Specialist Torres, you'll be carrying Sanchez's remaining gear now. And your own... My stomach dropped. But Sergeant... My knee, my profile. He just stared at me, his face grim. Your profile, specialist, only prevents you from running and strenuous activity. Carrying your own damn gear, and some of the vital equipment for the mission, is now your responsibility. Sanchez is injured. You're not... Get it done. I felt a surge of indignation. It wasn't fair. I had a profile. This was exactly what I was trying to avoid. But there was no arguing with Miller when he got like that. I watched as Sanchez, still pale and wincing, was helped onto a stretcher. He managed a weak smile at me. A shrug. Sorry, Torres. He mumbled. Sorry. He was sorry. I was the one who was going to have to carry all that crap now. The next few days were hell. My pack felt like it weighed a ton. Every step was agony for my knees. And my shoulders burned. I cursed under my breath. Every time I had to hoist that stupid radio onto my back. It wasn't fair. It just wasn't fair. I had a reason not to carry that much. Sanchez just pushed himself too hard. He should have known his limits. That's not my fault. When we finally got back to base, Sanchez was still recovering. He was in physical therapy, walking with a cane. His career was on the line. Everyone was saying, a back injury like that, especially for a soldier his age, could be career-ending. He was devastated. Everyone was so sympathetic towards him, bringing him food, visiting him. It made me sick, like he was some kind of martyr. He did it to himself. The real trouble started when the unit decided to investigate Sanchez's injury. Routine, they said, just trying to understand how it happened. Of course. They looked at the load he was carrying, and then they looked at my profile. Suddenly, I was in Sexy Miller's office again. But this time, the CO, Captain Davies, was there too. Captain Davies was a growth mindset man, always talking about transparency and accountability. I hated those kinds of talks. They always felt like a thinly veiled accusation. Specialist Torres, Captain Davies began, his voice calm, almost too calm. We've reviewed the reports concerning Private First Class Sanchez's injury. It appears a significant contributing factor was the excessive load he was carrying, including gear that, due to your profile, was reallocated to him. Yes, sir, I said, trying to sound respectful. But my profile was legitimate. My knee was bothering me. Sra, Miller snorted. Funny, specialist. Because your profile was issued just days before your PT test. And now that you're back, your knee seems to be doing just fine. Carrying all that extra weight, I felt my face flush. It's different, Sergeant. When you're in a combat zone, you just push through it. Adrenaline. You know, it sounded lame even to my own ears. But what else could I say? Captain Davies steepled his fingers. Specialist, we looked into your medical records. You have a history of knee complaints, but nothing that ever warranted a profile of this nature. And during your last medical checkup, before this profile was issued, your knees were noted as being in good condition. My heart started to pound. This was it. They were trying to corner me. I don't understand. Sir, sometimes these things just flare up. It's not something you can see on an X-ray. It's a feeling that coincidentally flared up right before your PT test. Miller pressed. I was just trying to be proactive. Sergeant, I blurted out. I didn't want to fail the test and then be stuck in remedial PT. That would have put an even bigger burden on the unit. Having me constantly pulled away for training, I was thinking about the team. Captain Davies sighed. Specialist. Falsely claiming an injury for the purpose of avoiding a mandatory physical assessment is a serious offense. It's known as malingering. Malingering. I gasped, feigning shock. Sir, I would never... My knee really did hurt. I even tried to put a little tremor in my voice, to make it sound like I was genuinely hurt by the accusation. Weaponized vulnerability. I guess it usually works, but not this time. Captain Davies just stared at me. Specialist. We also spoke with the medic who issued your profile. He noted your symptoms were vague, and you were rather insistent on getting the profile despite his initial assessment. He felt pressured. I just told him how I felt. He's the medical professional. He should know what's what. I was getting desperate. This was all just blowing up. Regardless, Captain Davies continued, your actions directly contributed to Private First Class Sanchez's injury. He is now facing a medical discharge, potentially ending his military career, because he was carrying a load that was, in part, yours to bear, due to a profile we now believe was fraudulently obtained. I wanted to scream. It wasn't my fault. He shouldn't have carried it. He's so stupidly strong. He just had to prove something. This was all on him for being so willing. We're recommending a formal investigation into your conduct. Specialist, Captain Davies said, and at a minimum, you'll be facing non-judicial punishment. Your promotion packet is obviously on hold indefinitely. My world felt like it was crumbling, all for a stupid PT test. All because I didn't want to run 2 miles. It wasn't like I wanted Sanchez to get hurt. I just wanted to avoid remedial PT. That's it. Word spread quickly through the unit. Whispers followed me everywhere. People looked at me with cold eyes. Some of the guys, Sanchez's friends, would glare at me. Jesse, who had subtly given me the initial idea, now avoided me entirely. Even the medic who gave me the profile seemed to avoid eye contact when I saw him in the mess hall. I felt like an outcast. It was like they all ganged up on me. It was so unfair. I was the one who was being persecuted. I was the one whose career was now in jeopardy. And all for trying to look out for myself. Isn't that what everyone does? The non-judicial punishment came down. I was stripped of a month's pay, restricted to base for 45 days, and given extra duty every weekend. Not just remedial PT, but actual cleaning, scrubbing floors, picking up trash. It was humiliating. Every time I was out there, sweating and aching, I thought about Sanchez, probably resting comfortably in the barracks, getting all the sympathy. He probably loved it. And then the big one hit. Sanchez was officially medically discharged. His back injury was permanent. He wouldn't be able to serve anymore. The news spread like wildfire. Everyone was upset. Everyone was talking about how tragic it was, how unfair, and everyone knew why. One day, I was in the common area, trying to ignore the stares, when I overheard a conversation. A group of soldiers, Sanchez's old buddies, were talking. Can you believe it? Sanchez? Done. Just like that. All because of her. One of them muttered, glaring in my direction. Yeah, she lied on her Eval. Everyone knows it now. And he was carrying her weight. Literally. I wanted to go over there and tell them off. Tell them it wasn't my fault. Tell them Sanchez should have been smarter. But I just sat there, my hands clenched. What was the point? They wouldn't listen. They had already made up their minds. My life in the unit became unbearable. I was ostracized. No one would sit with me at meals. My calls for assistance at work were met with delays or outright ignored. If I asked a question, I'd get curt, minimal answers. I was constantly under the microscope. Every mistake I made, no matter how small, was magnified. If I was a minute late to formation, I was chewed out. If a report was even slightly off, I was called out publicly. It got to the point where I couldn't even stand being in the barracks anymore. The silence was deafening. The looks were burning holes through me. I started spending more and more time alone in my room, just staring at the wall. My mental health was really taking a hit. It wasn't fair that I was suffering so much. I was the victim here. I was the one being tormented. I tried to talk to my team leader. Evans, she's usually pretty understanding. A bit of a burnt-out partner type, used to dealing with everyone's problems. I pulled her aside after a formation. Staff Sergeant, I started trying to keep my voice steady. I'm really struggling here. Everyone's treating me differently. I feel like I'm being targeted. She just sighed. A tired, heavy sound. Specialist Torres, I understand you're having a hard time, but you need to understand the impact of your actions. Sanchez is gone. His life is completely different now, and it's directly linked to the choices you made. But I didn't mean for him to get hurt. I protested, my voice cracking. I even managed a few tears, hoping it would soften her. I never wanted any of this. I made a mistake. A small one. And now my entire career is ruined. And everyone hates me. Isn't that punishment enough? She just looked at me, no sympathy in her eyes. Sometimes, specialist, the consequences of our actions are bigger than our intentions. And sometimes, those consequences stick with you. You need to figure out how to live with that. Live with it. How could I live with this? I was the one who was being punished, day in and day out. Sanchez was at home, probably getting disability pay, being taken care of. He got to escape. I was stuck here, miserable, enduring the silent treatment and the constant judgment. I started seeing the base therapist. I had to, after the CO recommended it. I tried to explain my side of the story, how I felt misunderstood, unfairly targeted, how it was all just a misunderstanding. The therapist, a quiet, older woman, just listened, nodding occasionally. She kept trying to get me to explore my feelings of responsibility and acknowledge the impact of my choices. It was infuriating. She just didn't get it. She kept trying to make me feel bad, like I was some kind of monster. I wasn't. I was just trying to survive. One day, I was sitting in the mess hall, picking at my food. When I saw Sanchez, he was visiting the base, probably for some final paperwork or something. He was still walking with a slight limp, but he looked healthier, not happy. Exactly. But there was a quiet resolve about him. He was talking to a group of his old buddies, laughing a little. He saw me, and for a split second, our eyes met. He didn't smile. He just looked at me, a blank expression, and then turned away. It was worse than a glare. It was like I didn't even exist. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just ostracized. I was irrelevant. My reputation was completely destroyed. I was the person who ruined Sanchez's life. And in their eyes, I deserved everything I got. My career was dead here. Even if I stayed, I'd be stuck. Never promoted. Never respected. Every day would be like this. I decided to try and transfer, put in a request for a unit change. Anything to get away from this place. These people, my request was denied, citing ongoing performance and conduct issues. Of course. They wouldn't even let me escape it. So here I am, still in the same unit, still dealing with the same silent treatment, the same glares. Sanchez is out, probably building a new life, and I'm stuck, still paying for something that wasn't even entirely my fault. I mean, sure, I said my knee hurt, but he's the one who carried all that extra gear. He's the one who didn't speak up. He's the one who didn't know his own limits. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I had just taken the PT test. Failed it. Probably been stuck in remedial PT. But at least then I wouldn't be this pariah, this outcast. But then again, it's not like I actually did anything wrong, right? I just tried to make my life a little easier. Everyone does it. It just blew up in my face. And now I'm the one suffering the most. It's always the good ones who get screwed over, isn't it? The ones who try to make smart decisions. The ones who try to look out for themselves. It's just so unfair. I'm the one who's truly the victim here. Always have been.